Hey, what's up guys, Vesper here. Let's do another wishlist video. Today let's talk about Drive Rush. Again, I know we already did a 1 hour long discussion video on it. We talked about it to death, but I really feel like I need to double down on this because I think Drive Rush needs to be toned down for season 2. I think it'll be healthier for the game, and I think it'll be better for the meta in general. Now, I know a lot of the top tiers in this game have excellent tools, much more than the lower tiers, but a lot of the reason why they're top tier is also because of the Drive Rush meta. That's a really important thing here. Some characters can't use the mechanic as well as others, or deal with it as well as others, and that's a big thing. Some characters just absolutely abuse this mechanic. They're really strong characters like Ken and DJ, and some characters are also really good at stopping it or don't really have to deal with it as much. Zoners like JP and Guile. And there are some characters that can do a little bit of both that are really well rounded, like Luke or Chun-Li or even Cammy, you could say. So I'm going to try to summarize it the best I can and show you guys a bunch of examples on why Drive Rush is so strong. And by the way, I'm talking specifically about raw Drive Rush, neutral Drive Rush. The other stuff about Drive Rush is cool. You know, the juggle system, all of that. That's the awesome part about Drive Rush. There's really cool things about Drive Rush. I don't want them to like remove it from the game or anything. Now, I know there are very talented pros out there that can check Drive Rush consistently. So you can see them checking it in tournaments. I've been watching tournaments all the way up to this point. And yes, there is a certain type of Drive Rush that these pros are stopping, and that is the mid-screen into like a medium kind of Drive Rush. And they have the right characters that could stop it, like Chun-Li or Cammy, like I just mentioned. But now the Drive Rush meta has kind of evolved to the point where a lot of pros now are just abusing Drive Rush lights, which are just so fast that there is no pro out there that's able to check this consistently. And of course, I'll show video examples of this. Everyone's catching on to it. It's to the point where pros are so scared to even attempt to stop Drive Rush now because they don't know if they're going into lights or not. And they'll just try to go for a perfect parry because it's just the safest option. They'd rather just take the throw than risk getting punish countered if the opponent, you know, cancels that light punch into Luke's back heavy punch, or DJ sway, or Ken does a Dragon Lash kick, etc. There are a lot of options to bait your buttons like Drive Rush throw. My jab is +9 on hit. That is insane. That's why DJ is able to do things like, you know, Drive Rush jab into back heavy kick, right into a heavy normal. The reward is so high. And if it's counter hit, it's going to be even more plus. So you get such a giant reward for such a low risk, fast button. And even if the opponent blocks, you're rewarded too. Because now you have a button that's supposed to be minus on block. It's +1. It's got the perfect amount of pushback where you're close enough to a throw, but you can definitely still shimmy. And it can give you so much momentum. You also gain a lot of meter back too. It's to the point where you feel like the opponent's raw drive rushing on you like 6 times in a row, and their meter is just not going down because you get rewarded big time for offense in this game when you're blocking, right? And you're getting so much meter back, plus they're walking forward makes you gain meter too. So I just want to give you guys kind of like the timeline of how Drive Rush has evolved over the course of Street Fighter 6. And Diaphone actually made a really good video showcasing the meta during EVO on how Angry Bird was so ahead of the meta abusing Drive Rush jab with Ken. So this was like right at the end of EVO in winners finals against Punk. Punk is one of the best players at checking Drive Rush. So this is like the perfect example. Punk was also way ahead of knowing, hey, we need to be aware of Drive Rush. It's a problem. So you can check out Angry Bird using it and using Drive Rush jab there. And it's so fast to the point of being like, sometimes you're not going to react to it at all. But if you do, it's so risky because it's so quick. And since you're plus, you have leeway to just throw or shimmy. And if it hits, you get a massive reward because it's usually like +9 or +10 or even +11 if you get counter hit with a lot of characters, right? Where they can go into some of their best combos from it. And you can see right here, Punk like even attempting to try to stop this. All right, he's no slouch when it comes to reaction speed. And a lot of pros are not even at this level that they can react this quickly to something that's so fast. And like I said, it's not just Ken using this. I know Ken is like the perfect example. You know, Luke can do this. Chun-Li can do this. Even slower characters can use drive rush jab. Even Ryu can use it. It's just because he's so... But Ryu's got to be a lot closer because he's slower. But it's just showing you how powerful it is. And what it leads into. Right here, again, tried stopping it. It's not like he doesn't know it's coming. It's gone to the point where he's waiting for it. But now, see, now at this point, it's showing that like Punk started getting conditioned, and he's like, I'm not even going to try to stop this anymore. You just kind of accept it. And that's why now, fast forward to today, most pros are just using perfect parry. They're trying to perfect parry. It's the safest option in case Ken does like Dragon Lash kick, or the opponent does like throw or something to bait you. At least you can block during the recovery of your parry. See, once again, Angry Bird was like, hey, maybe now that I see that Punk it's not pressing buttons anymore trying to check this, maybe I'm gonna try to like use slower buttons and drive rush in. See, this was fine, and this is what Capcom anticipated. They didn't think drive rush would be that big of a deal, because, you know, once you're looking for it, you can stop it with mediums and the designated buttons, which I'll show you guys in a bit. Like the crouching mediums especially are good amongst the entire cast, except for Aki. But in this case, Punk shows once again, hey, I can check this. So then what Angry Bird does is he goes back to drive rush jab. See, like, you can stop it sometimes, but you can't stop it all the time. And this is like another example here. It's not just Punk. Like, this is against Men-RD, also one of the best players in the world. And you can see him using it on him too. This is on Grand Finals. Drive rush jab. Drive rush jab right there. Drive rush jab. Trying to stop it. He was trying to use crouching medium punch, man. That's a god button for Luke. Yeah, he's the two-time, man. Even the two-time gets out. Look how many times. Look at how many times, guys. And what it leads into, right? Tries taking the throw, and you get throw loop. So remember, this is back in August during the first Evo. This is the beginning where it already started becoming like a problem, and now everyone has caught on. This gave Angry Bird a giant edge because he was really ahead on how to use this mechanic properly, which is drive rush jab. It was cool seeing Punk check it with the light punch though. Like, that was like really good reactions, him stopping it, but just can't stop it every time, man. Right there, this was like phenomenal. Like, look how close he is, dude. The fact that Punk was ready for that at that close range, because you gotta remember, at this range you gotta worry about crouching medium kick, right, or fireball, and a bunch of other things. Like I said, it's not just sitting and training about and be like, hey, I can stop drive rush every time, you know. In a high level match like this where there's so many things to worry about with drive impact, jumps, dashes, and all that, it's so difficult. Now let me continue the timeline here. You know, just like Kakeru was ahead of the curve guys on perfect parry on that meta, and that helped him also win a lot of money in a very, very stacked tournament. So I'm just showing you guys the evolution here. So this was after September, and we have Tokido not abusing drive rush jab, but jab into drive rush, thinking outside the box. And Tokido was mashing forward as he was mashing jab, so he can get random drive rushes if the opponent walks in, and converting that way. Look at this madness. Just pressing jab. And it got so out of hand that Capcom made an emergency nerf to drive rush, and made it so that if you buffer jab or you press jab and you try to buffer drive rush, you'll automatically get a drive rush, and it'll be considered a drive rush cancel, and you'll get the 3-bar penalty. Capcom already kind of saw this becoming a problem, but in my opinion, dude, at this point, because at this point we're around, you know, Rashida's out. Before Aki is around the September timeline here. I think at this point they should have did something emergency on the drive rush jab in general at this point already. This one's perfect too. Okay, fast forward months later. Now we have This was during the DJ madness now. Fudo, undefeated for 3 tournaments in a row in one of the most stacked regions in the world. Actually, the most stacked region in the world. And he's using DJ, Drive Rush Jab, against one of the other best DJs in the world. And here is grand finals of this tournament. And you can see the madness. Drive Rush Jab. Drive Rush Jab. Drive Rush Jab.
Oh no. Oh no, the sway. Oh, he dropped it.
Drive Rush Jab.
Into drive rush.
Sway.
Sway.
Like, you can hear my commentary. I'm watching this live. I'll show it one more time. Guys, this is like the highest level of play. Drive Rush Jab. Drive Rush Jab. Sway. Drive Rush Jab. Sway. Sway. And then, I guess let's fast forward to now. I mean, you guys get the point, okay? But this was like 2 weeks ago. Just showing you guys, this hasn't gone away or anything. Drive Rush Jab. Okay, I'm just showing you guys, hey, this thing is it's still a problem, guys. It didn't go away in September. It's been here for a long time. But another thing that makes Drive Rush Jab good is that since he recovers so quickly, you're still able to anti-air even if somebody like jumps over you. So you just gave Vesper more ammunition. You did, dude, you did. I wasn't gonna mention this before, but okay, when he did the Drive Rush Jab, the Akira obviously meant to do a dive kick and not just jump forward on round start like that. But the Drive Rush ate the input. It ate the direction, so he jumped. I'm not even talking about the input eating, guys. I'm just talking about raw Drive Rush. Needs to be stopped. It needs to be toned down. So one big problem about Drive Rush is that it's simply not just about your reaction speed or your awareness of it. There's a lot of unintuitive things about Drive Rush when you compare it to how you counter most things in this game. For example, Drive Impact is very straightforward. If someone does Drive Impact on you, to counter it, you simply press Drive Impact back. It doesn't matter which character you're using. It doesn't matter if they're a slow character or a fast character. The ranges are relatively the same. The speed is always exactly the same. The way to punish it is very straightforward. But Drive Rush is more complicated than that. Alright, let me show you guys an example here just so I can explain this better. I'm going to get DJ to do a Drive Rush Light Punch on me right after he techs a throw. I like to, do testing on Drive Rushes after tech throws because players typically like to do Drive Rush after tech throw. And it's a good kind of like medium distance. I'm not cheating by having, DJ point blank on me because I know his Drive Rush is insanely fast. So this is the good distance to show this example. So I'm using Chun-Li. And I'm going to try to stop it with my fastest button, Crouching Light Punch. Her Standing Light Punch is also 4 frames, but realistically, you're going to use a crouching attack to stop Drive Rush because, you're blocking low most of the time. And if the opponent Drive Rushes, it would take just a little bit longer to stand up, consciously stand up, and then use like a light, right? So let's use Crouching Light Punch. See what happens. Now, this shows that it's not just about the reaction. It's not just about the speed. It's about the timing. I have to time it right. Since he punish countered me, it meant that I reacted too fast and I pressed my light too quickly. So I had to time it better. So let's time it better now and see what happens. Too fast. Now, that time I actually timed it right, but you saw I still got counter hit. Counter hit. Counter hit. Once again, counter hit. Now, it's not just the reaction. It's not just about the speed or the timing. It's also about the button. The reason I'm losing is because Crouching Light Punch can't beat DJ's Standing Light Punch. It will always lose. I'm using the wrong button. What I should be using is Crouching Medium Punch. So let me show it again with Crouching Medium Punch. And as you can see, Crouching Medium Punch beats it. Now check this out. Let's try that again. Now it's not just about the reaction or the timing. or the speed or even the right button. It's also about the guess. And this is the problem with Drive Rush in general. It doesn't matter how good of a player you are. At the end of the day, the opponent has options to counter you, even if you do everything perfectly. All right, let me show another example here. Same thing. I already got Luke set to do a crouching light punch after a tech throw. So I'm going to use crouching light punch myself. And let's see if we can stop this thing. Ooh, mistimed it. Hit it a little too early. Let's try again. Okay, good. We timed it perfectly that time. But what happens when Luke does this? Ooh, punish counter getting sent to the corner. And I'm going to get throw looped and I'm dead. So you can see it's complicated, right? For the average player to understand. That's why I don't feel like it's unintuitive. Now, we can be like, oh, you know, most of the top tiers have abusable tools that they can use to, you know, stop you from doing and checking Drive Rush using Crouch and Light Punch. But is it a problem with their tools that they use in neutral, or is it a problem with Drive Rush itself, right? That's for you guys to decide. There's a lot of lower tier characters or characters that aren't used as much that have ways around this too. It's just we don't see them that much because, you know, most of the pro players are picking the top tier characters in tournaments. But there are a lot of clever ways to get around it. Even just hitting Light Punch early and stopping in front of someone and just doing like throw to bait it is an option that almost every character has. In Capcom's case, I don't blame them for, you know, this getting out of hand, because they did give designated buttons for stopping Drive Rush. You can see it when you look at the hitboxes, and for most of the characters, it's crouching medium punch. This was supposed to be your go-to to stop a majority of Drive Rushes for almost everyone. I'll show you guys the hitboxes here. Chun-Li has got one of the best ones, so I'll show like an extreme example. Like look at how crazy detached this button is. It's perfect for a super fast green target heading straight for you at 200 miles per hour. And before you guys are like, well, you know, that's Chun-Li, that's an extreme example. I'm like, look, I'll even show you Ryu, man. Even Ryu has it. Everyone has it, except for Aki. But might be a hint for season 2. Maybe that's why her crouching medium punch isn't. But yeah, red means stop. Exactly. It's done like this intentionally. It's really good that they did this. However, there is a problem. A big issue with this, and something that Capcom did not anticipate. The problem is the button that you use to stop Drive Rush. What happens when you use it with your Drive Rush? Now we have an issue. How are you supposed to stop the button that's supposed when it's heading right for you with the Drive Rush? And that's what happened. All of a sudden, players started catching on to this and using buttons that are specifically, you know, to win neutral and using it with that forward momentum. Or we even got Jury. What happens when you use it with a button like, I don't know, Jury's standing medium kick? This is used to beat lows. So if you try to do like a crouching forward to beat Jury when she's Drive Rushing at you, this is going to win. This is going to beat a lot of low attacks in general. And you're going to want to use a low attack to beat Drive Rush because you're crouching, you're blocking. It takes longer for you to stand and press attack, right? When you're reacting to things. Same thing with JP. Once again, JP is one of the strongest characters at stopping Drive Rush because he has detached buttons. But once again, what if JP used that against you and he drove Rush towards you with a button like this? What are you going to hit this button with? If JP is spaced correctly, there's nothing to hit. There's nothing to counter. You're going to take this button, and if you attempt to press anything and this thing lands a counter hit, it's going to be mad plus because of the Drive Rush system. Even Jamie, guys, has some buttons he can abuse with Drive Rush. When you have like this heavy punch here, remember this heavy punch is 5 frames startup. 5 frames. And when this thing starts up, look, it goes hitbox first. There's no hurt box yet. Like, look. I'm not trying to say Jamie's strong, but I'm just trying to say that, look, this is what happens when some of these buttons, when you Drive Rush it. Jamie's Drive Rush is terrible, by the way. Like, the speed is horrible. Yeah, and it breaks DI. That's true, and it breaks DI. Capcom, don't nerf Jamie. That's not what I'm asking here. I'm just trying to give as many examples as I can at the madness. So let me show an example of that in game. I got Luke to do drive rush, crouching medium punch, and I'll sit here in training mode and say my reactions are godlike. There's no mental stack, and I anticipate it. Well, right there again, that punish counter is a good example of me hitting the button too early. Timing is another factor. But there we go, I'm beating it, okay? I'm beating the button, no problem. Because his button is not out yet. But that is at that range, right? What if I was a little bit back more? Then it's gonna win because the button is already out. The hitbox is already out. The distance matters. The speed matters. There's all these factors. You don't have time to pull out like, you know, a ruler or a measuring stick when someone's doing a drive rush on you and calculate the timing, the button, and the range. Is this too much? That's why I say it's not intuitive like DI. If someone DIs, you just DI back. Simple. It's just purely on reaction. There's another issue too, and that's Fireball Drive Rush. Fireball Drive Rush has absolutely no counter right now. There's nothing you can do to stop it. You can't perfect parry it, because even if you perfect parry it, your button is going to be delayed because the fireball made you stop and wait to perfect parry it, and the opponent will be already in your face by this point. You can't drive reversal it. I mean, half the time you can't use drive reversal on normal attacks, let alone fireballs. You can't DI it. The opponent will recover in time. There is zero counter. If you try to jump, you'll easily get anti-aired. Doesn't matter if you jump over or forward. If you also have a fireball and you're like zoning the fireball back, if you do OD fireball like DJ or Ken does OD fireball, it'll beat your fireball, and then you're gonna, you know, eat a heavy punch sandwich. All right, so solutions. What can we do about this? There's a lot of things we can do to tone down raw drive rush. A lot of things. Some suggestions, like if we go after the the slowdown effect or the meter gain, right? Some things are gonna get hit in the crossfire, like juggle combos and the cool things about drive rush, because I think drive rush is a cool mechanic. It just can be abused in certain ways. I just want them to go after raw drive rush specifically without affecting combos and the other interesting things about the mechanics. So I think at the very least, and honestly, I think Capcom should have did an emergency change on this all the way back in September, is to simply add a punish counter state when someone drive rushes at you. Right now they're in a counter hit state, because what a punish counter does, well, one, you'll have more frame advantage. So that means when you punish the drive rush, you'll get a bigger reward because you can land a fatter combo. But on top of that, it drains their meter too when you get a punish counter in this game. So it would be much more rewarding, and it will stop the opponent from drive rushing in on you like 6 times in a row. Like, look how much meter loss Ken got for that drive rush. Like, he almost lost 2 bars for that. I think that'd be, at the very least, if Capcom wants to go a little further than that. I don't know how difficult this is from a programming standpoint, but one thing that would really help, especially the lower tier characters, because not every character can stop drive rush as well as others, because it depends on your buttons too, right? And that is adding an extended hurt box to the front of drive rush. Like when your character is in drive rush state, you can add like a hurt box in front of you as if like you're whiffing a button or something, and that would just make it more about reacting, less about the timing, less about the button you have to use, and more about just, I see green, I stop it kind of thing. I'll show you guys an example here. Joe had the Photoshop ready for this, and it's family friendly too. But this is what it's like, you know, before, and maybe this hurt box is maybe a little too crazy, Joe, but something like this, where just generally it doesn't matter which attack any of the lower tier characters have or anyone that's been added to this game. It just makes it easier. Maybe this might be a little too extreme, but I think if Capcom wants to go a little further, this might be a good idea without once again affecting the combos in this game. Now, I really want to hammer this point too, guys, that I'm not trying to say remove raw drive rush. Never have people able to raw drive rush again, because I don't want to slow down the game to a crawl. I think aggression should be rewarded. If you want to be someone who just uses drive rush non-stop and you want to be a super aggressive player, I think that's cool. You have the option to do that. I just think they just really need to balance it, make the risk and reward match. Another thing too, if you guys are really scared, well, you know, if they nerf raw drive rush, we're never going to be able to raw drive rush again. I don't think that's going to happen at all. There's no way, especially in a game like Street Fighter 6, man. Like, think about it. Jumps are slow, guys. They're hella slow. And people are still not anti-airing, even in the highest level of play. There's too much stack in this game. You know, you have drive impact. People are still getting away with dashes. It'll be just like anything else. You won't be able to, if the opponent is expecting you to drive rush, yes, they'll be able to stop you. But they can't stop everything. All signs of your offense. There's no way. So I wouldn't worry about it, guys. It'll just be like anything else. Just like pros can't stop drive impact every time. There's enough stack in this game that we shouldn't have to worry about drive rush jab like every 3 seconds. The other thing too that Capcom really needs to pay attention to is the meter gain, especially after drive rush light. You gain back just too much drive meter after your opponent blocks it. It's just too insane. It's almost at the point where it's completely free of cost. That's why you have people using drive rush jab just so often. You're just getting your meter back because you're plus, so you're able to get one more guess, and that'll usually get your meter back just from walking forward alone. So that Capcom definitely needs to address the meter gain on the drive gauge in general, on a lot of things, but drive rush especially. Now, as for what Capcom could do about Fireball drive rush, I have no idea. I have no idea what they can do. Maybe Capcom could just simply embrace it and they just won't nerf it and you just have to deal with it maybe. The only thing Capcom can do about it is make it so you simply cannot drive rush while your fireball is active on the screen. That's the only thing they can do. It'll hurt Aki a lot in the crossfire because she's designed around that. But I think characters like Guile and Chun-Li will still be fine because, I mean, that's what they've traditionally done in the past anyways. Their fireballs are really, really slow. And they can still just do it the old-fashioned way, you know, fireball and walk behind it. So I think Guile and Chun-Li will be fine. Maybe Capcom might not nerf drive rush at all. You know, maybe they want to embrace it. We'll find out when we see that balance patch, if they even tone it down. But if Capcom wants to embrace drive rush and they really want people to be using it all the time, make it so the lower tier characters have faster drive rushes and buff the right buttons to make their drive rushes just as good as the other characters. That's the only other way to do it, right? Go into the opposite direction to make the lower tier characters more relevant. If they want to just go chaos, and we'll have the most ultimate season 2 drive rush season ever. Manon will be coming at you at like DJ drive rush speed. You'll throw a fireball like mid-screen and Zangief does drive rush Larry and it'll hit you. Hey, it could be fun, man. Then we can really call this game Drive Rush Fighter 6.